Hey guys, this is Jesse from Vagabond. Just wanted to introduce you to our brand new project bike, the new 2017 Yamaha FZ-10. Now, I'm sure you guys have read a bunch about this guy and how it's naked R1, and just so happens we've got a brand new R1 sitting right next to it. So I figured I'd give you guys a little walkthrough on both these bikes and try to figure out what the main differences are between them, and where I guess $3.5 grand goes missing in the process from turning that into this. Now, in my opinion, the biggest difference between these two bikes are things have kind of decontented on the way from an R1 to a FZ-10. Is start with the R1, it's got this awesome dash, full color TFT display, and then kind of behind that is the whole level of kind of call it race electronics that comes with that. And the big ones are obviously going to be traction control, drive modes, both of which the FZ-10 has. And then you get into really kind of brand new stuff. So the slip control, launch control, wheelie control, that kind of stuff. And so obviously they're going to strip some of that on the way to the FZ-10. And we'll go check out what that one does right here. And the first thing you'll notice is it's no longer full color. It's kind of, but it's still a very nice digital display. Still got a gear indicator, and it still has drive mode and traction control, although traction control is going to be a little bit different because it's not going to have the big 6-axis IMU and the link braking and all that kind of stuff. So the electronics package is still pretty good, definitely consistent with kind of the class, but nothing really close to the R1. So that's a big chunk of things they've taken out. But what you do get in return, you have cruise control on the FZ-10, and something that's kind of cool, especially if you want to sport tour this guy, is all right, get you in there. There is a DC power jack. All right, so it's not, you do actually get some stuff different than the R1 for hooking up your GPSs and whatever else you want to do sport touring. And then when you get to the controls, obviously you got your cruise control on the left as well as traction control. So you've got simple toggles for 3-level traction control. And then just kind of like an FZ-09, you've got drive mode. So you've got standard A and B, which are gonna kind of mostly just tailored like the throttle response and kind of motor response. So still a really nice dash. It's just not quite as nice as the full color unit on the R1. Now both bikes obviously have ABS. R1's got a bit of a different braking system. It's got different front pistons. Looks like same rotor size, but it's got the link braking system. I think Yamaha calls it UBS, which pretty much ties the rear brake actuation back to the front and vice versa. And you can tell very, I think, probably older generation, maybe R1 spec stuff, maybe even R6 spec, but rubber lines, still awfully nice brakes. But the big difference on the braking system between the lines is going to be the master cylinder, because there's kind of old school on the FZ-10, and then on the R1 you get the nice big radial style. And you can tell there's a difference in brake feel between the two, just even just sitting still. So that's going to be another area where Yamaha's kind of changed it up, reduced some cost. But kind of the cool thing when you look at these two bikes now is you can tell the frame and the swing arm pretty nearly identical. I wouldn't be surprised if there's some minor changes in the casting, but they both feed air through the center of the headstock, which is kind of cool for a naked bike. Not too many naked bikes do that. So unlike the FZ-07 and FZ-09, the headlights on this guy are going to stay totally fixed and not pivot with the front forks, which is kind of nice. So you're still getting some air induction through the center, it looks like, as well as through those channels on the left and right. So you can tell a lot of the chassis is actually shared, or at least very, very similar between these two bikes. And that kind of, I think that ends a lot of the similarities. I mean, obviously there's got the same motor architecture, but then when you start looking at the specs, it's everything from compression ratio to cam. Obviously intake's going to be a little different, and then a lot of it's material based. So R1 motors get tie connecting rods. These guys have steel connecting rods. You can even tell they'll stick on magnet. All the case bolts on the FZ-10 are steel. You roll around to the R1 and non-magnetic. So tie bolts all around, which is pretty cool. My favorite part about the R1 is this magnesium subframe. So the whole subframe, single piece of mag, which is really cool. 10-spoke wheels, magnesium. So there's a lot of different materials between these two bikes. I mean, I know the headers on the R1 are tie, and so is the muffler. And then on the FZ-10, I think just the muffler's tie and the headers are stainless. But still, I mean, crazy nicely built equipment. But you can tell, I mean, that's a reasonable way to save $3,500 just by dialing back some of the exotic materials on these guys, which honestly, for upright naked bike, you're probably never going to notice. Now, if we keep going on the material side, probably the last big one is going to be the gas tank. So R1's aluminum unit, nice and light, non-magnetic. FZ-10 is going to be a steel unit. So just really kind of minor differences. You'd expect that the tires are obviously going to be way different. I mean, there's still pretty sticky tires on the FZ-10, but nothing quite like the Bridgestones on the R1. But you can tell they share turn signals, so pretty high quality running gear, definitely a step above, even though it looks like the FZ-10 does share at least some of the FZ-09 subframe, probably not all of it, a different seat, but tail light and some of the internals under the seat are definitely FZ-09 spec stuff. So they've changed a meaningful amount of things, even from the rear sets. They are different between not just higher, but they're different. X-up valve on the FZ-10, you can see is a little bit visible, and is almost entirely hidden on the R1, which is kind of interesting. They definitely have different exhaust systems. FZ-10 sounds pretty awesome. I think a little bit louder than the R1. Obviously, that all changes when you put a different pipe on it. But one thing that's actually kind of cool is they have exactly the same headlights. So the FZ-10's headlights are pulled directly off the R1, and they're just tucked into a different location, and at first glance you would never know. In any case, guys, just finish up a quick walkthrough of these two bikes. I mean, both pretty badass motorcycles that probably different buyers. I mean, street riders are obviously going to gravitate to the FZ-10, at least reasonable ones. But very cool how they share a lot of the kind of top level architecture. FZ-10 is a pretty cool looking bike. I guess opinions are split on the Dayglow wheels, but it's definitely distinctive. Fits in line with their new colorways for the FZ-10 or FZ-07 and FZ-09. So we've got brand new products rolling out for both these bikes, so kind of stay tuned for that. But before we get into the install videos for that, just give you a couple more reviews of the Crossplane Twins from Yamaha. Thank you guys, and check us out. Our products are available directly on our website, www.vagabondmotorsports.com, as well as Amazon for you Prime members. And some of you international guys really like eBay, so we're up on eBay as well. Thanks, guys.